They don't lose because they tried and fell short. They lose because they never truly began. Most people are defeated long before they take the first step, not by the world, not by fate, not even by failure, but by the quiet assassins of the mind, doubt, fear, and hesitation. The battlefield isn't out there. It starts inside, long before the first move is made, long before the business is launched. The book is written, the voice is heard. The war is fought in the silence of one's own soul, between the vision of what could be and the fear of what might go wrong. You want to know why most people fail? Because they hand over the keys to their dreams without a fight. They talk themselves out of greatness with the language of excuses. They rationalize the mediocrity. They bow to the myth that they're not ready. But here's the truth: no one is ready when they start. Not Edison when he dared to challenge the dark. Not Disney when he sketched a mouse in poverty. Not Lincoln when he rose from failure after failure to free a nation. Not Oprah when she was told she wasn't fit for television. Not you, not me, not anyone. Readiness is not a prerequisite. It is a result of forward motion. Clarity comes from movement. Confidence is forged in the furnace of risk. Power is born in the act of beginning. But most people, they never begin. They wait for permission. They wait for the perfect time. They wait until the fear goes away, not realizing that fear is the gatekeeper to destiny. Understand this: every empire began with uncertainty. Every fortune started with a whisper of belief against a scream of doubt. And every world changer had one thing in common: they walked through the fire anyway. They moved while afraid. They acted without the guarantee. They refused to be paralyzed by the unknown. You must ask yourself right now, have you truly begun? Or are you still negotiating with your fears in the shadows? The reason most people fail before they even begin is because they do not believe that they were born for more. They do not see the gold buried beneath their daily lives. They've accepted a borrowed identity, one shaped by small thinkers, by critics, by failures they've already lived through. But let me tell you, belief is not some soft philosophical concept. Belief is power. Belief is fuel. Belief is the engine of all achievement. Without belief, the body withers. Without belief, the mind sabotages itself. Without belief, the soul forgets its mission. The tragedy is not that people fail. The tragedy is that they never set the terms of their life. They inherit a script they never wrote, then wonder why it doesn't feel right to live it. Do you remember being a child, when the world was infinite and you hadn't yet been told what was realistic? That spark, that raw energy, that is the original blueprint of who you were meant to be, not the version dulled by rejection, by conformity, by school systems that taught you to sit still and follow rules. Greatness is your default, but it must be reclaimed. And how do you reclaim it? You start, not just physically, but mentally. You declare war on every limiting belief that was ever implanted in your subconscious. You audit your thoughts like your life depends on it, because it does. You cannot rise while carrying the weight of unworthiness. You cannot lead while hiding behind fear. You cannot become all that you were designed to be while listening to voices that tell you to shrink. The failure is not in the result. It's in the decision not to begin at all, to live in potential forever instead of action. Look at the people you admire, the legends, the icons, the builders of worlds. They were not superhuman. They were relentless. They were focused. They burned with a sense of urgency. They refused to die with their greatness still locked inside of them. Henry Ford was mocked when he said he'd build a vehicle to replace horses. They laughed at him, said it couldn't be done. He said, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses, because vision does not come from consensus. It is born in silence. It is built in solitude, and it must be protected from the noise of the world. But most people, they seek approval before action. They need validation before movement, and in doing so, they hand over their authority. Let me make this clear: you do not need permission to be great. You were designed for impact. You are not here to blend in. You are here to become a force. But it starts with the belief that you deserve to begin. If you do not believe you are worthy of success, you will sabotage it at every turn. You will delay, you will hesitate, you will procrastinate, not because you're lazy, but because you're scared of what it would mean to finally become powerful. And that's what most people fear the most. Not failure, but success. Because success changes everything. It threatens your identity. It forces you to rise. It demands a new standard. So what do people do? They stay small. They pretend they don't care. They rationalize failure as not the right time. But deep down, they know the truth. They never tried. They only flirted with their potential. They dated the idea of greatness, but never married it. They treated their calling like a hobby instead of a sacred obligation. Let me tell you this. If you have a dream inside you, it is not random. It is not a coincidence. It is a summons, a command from your higher self, from the intelligence that breathed life into stars and spun galaxies into motion. You were assigned this dream, and to ignore it, to dismiss it, is to betray your purpose. And no, this path will not be easy. It will demand everything from you. Your old self will not survive the journey. But that's the point. Success isn't something you attain. It's something you become. But becoming requires fire. It requires letting go of who you were so you can rise into who you must be. Do you think Thomas Edison cared how many times he failed? 10,000 failed attempts, and still he pressed on. Why? Because he knew, he believed, not just in the invention, but in himself. And that's what separates those who change the world from those who watch it happen. Belief, conviction, unshakable, immovable certainty. You do not need the world to believe in you. You need you to believe in you. Because until that happens, nothing does. The enemy of greatness is not defeat. It is doubt, quiet, corrosive, cunning doubt. It's not the punch that knocks you out. It's the whisper that says, why even try? Doubt does not need to shout. It only needs to delay you a day, a week, a year, a lifetime. And that's how dreams die. Not in explosions, but in slow suffocation. The dream is alive, but it's buried beneath obligations, beneath the job you hate, the bills you pay, the expectations you never agreed to but still carry like chains. Most people fail before they even begin because they never stop to question the script they're following. They accept average as inevitable. They treat their current circumstance as the limit of what's possible. But your circumstances are not your ceiling. They are your starting point. Every champion you've ever admired began as an unknown. Every mogul began as a misfit. Every empire rose from dirt. Do not confuse your present with your potential. Where you are is not who you are. But here's the brutal truth: success is inconvenient. It doesn't show up when you feel ready. It knocks while you're tired, uncertain, busy, and afraid. That's the test. Will you rise? Even when everything says wait, the world rewards action, not intention. And most people stay stuck in intention mode forever. They think about it. They plan. They research. They overanalyze. They wait for the perfect strategy. They worship information but reject implementation. But knowledge alone does not change your life. Execution does. What separates the average from the extraordinary is the willingness to move before the plan is perfect, to act in the face of uncertainty, to start ugly, to begin broken, to stumble forward and learn while doing. Because the truth is, the perfect plan doesn't exist. You don't need more time. You don't need another course. You don't need another opinion. You need courage. Courage to begin without guarantee. Courage to fail without shame. Courage to rise without applause. History belongs to the bold. Think of Nelson Mandela, 27 years in prison, stripped of everything, but he held the vision. He never let the outer world corrupt his inner reality. And when he walked out of that cell, he didn't walk out a broken man. He walked out a leader of a nation. That is what belief can do. It can turn a prison into preparation. It can turn a setback into a slingshot. It can turn pain into power. But you must choose it. You must claim it. You must say, this is who I am, no matter what the world reflects back at me. Because most people, they let the world define them. They let rejection become identity. They let failure become a verdict. But rejection is redirection. Failure is education. Every no is training. Every closed door is shaping your hunger. Every disappointment is refining your fire. But only if you choose to see it that way. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they interpret discomfort as a sign to stop. They feel fear and think it means turn back. But fear is a compass. It points directly toward the place where growth lies. The question isn't whether fear will show up. The question is whether you'll listen to it or walk through it. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. He was fired from a newspaper. He faced bankruptcy more than once. But he didn't internalize those failures. He transmuted them. He used them as fuel. Because he wasn't building a cartoon. He was building a world, a kingdom of belief. And so are you. Every decision you make, every time you silence the voice of doubt, every time you act when it would be easier to wait, you are building your empire, brick by brick, thought by thought, habit by habit. Most people fail before they even begin because they don't see the invisible progress. They expect immediate results. They plant the seed and dig it up the next day. But success doesn't come to the impatient. It comes to the relentless, the ones who keep showing up, the ones who master repetition, the ones who are obsessed with the process, not just the outcome. You must fall in love with the grind, the early mornings, the quiet nights, the days when no one claps for you, the moments when it's just you, your vision, and the silence, because that silence, that's where power is built. Listen, if you're going to fail, fail because you gave it everything you had. Fail because you were too bold, not too cautious. Fail because you swung too hard, not because you kept the bat on your shoulder. But don't fail because you never stepped up. Don't fail because you played small. Don't fail because you wanted a guarantee. There are no guarantees. Only this: if you don't act, nothing changes. If you do act, everything might. That's the game. And the clock is ticking. Not just the hours in your day, but the years of your life. This moment is disappearing as you hear these words. And the tragedy of life is not that it ends. It's that we wait too long to begin. Don't let your story be one of delay. Don't be the person who could have, should have, almost did. Be the one who said yes to the fire, yes to the pain, yes to the growth, yes to the call. You were not born to survive. You were born to lead, to build, to expand, to awaken others through the power of your example. But first, you must awaken yourself. You must reclaim your thoughts. You must reprogram your identity. You must decide, I will not live this life asleep. Because most people do. They move through life like ghosts, consumed by routine, numbed by comfort, silenced by fear. But you are not most people. You wouldn't be listening if you were. There's a fire in you, a knowing, a whisper that says, you were made for more. And that whisper, it's not random. It's not wishful thinking. It's your truth begging to be lived. You were born with fire in your soul, but life taught you to dim it, taught you to be realistic, to be humble, to be quiet, to be safe. But safety is a slow death, a quiet erosion of your potential. And every time you silence that whisper inside, every time you betray that inner knowing, you drift further from the life you were meant to live. You weren't meant to follow. You were meant to create, to blaze trails where there were none, to tear down walls that others tiptoe around. So let the fire return. Let it roar again. Let the version of you that's been asleep finally wake up. No one's coming to hand you your destiny. There is no mentor, no course, no external force that can do the work for you. Because this isn't about what you have. It's about who you are becoming. Every day you are becoming someone. Every choice is a vote. Every thought a building block. The question is, who are you building? Are you becoming the person who waits, who hesitates, who complains, who blames, who shrinks in the face of discomfort? Or are you becoming the one who moves, who leads, who rises, who demands more from themselves and refuses to settle? You get to choose. And your life will reflect that choice, always. Most people fail before they even begin because they outsource responsibility. They blame the economy. They blame their parents. They blame the algorithm. They blame the weather, the news, the president, the planets. But blame is a distraction. Responsibility is your power. As long as it's someone else's fault, it can't be your solution. As long as you're a victim, you are powerless. But the moment you say, I am the cause, you also become the cure. That's what real power is, not control over others, but mastery over yourself. And that begins with discipline. Discipline is the bridge between desire and destiny. Without it, you will stay in a loop of inspiration without execution. You'll feel motivated, but not transformed. You'll have sparks, but no fire. Ideas, but no results. Discipline is the decision to do what needs to be done long after the mood has left. It is showing up after the honeymoon phase ends. It is doing the work no one applauds you for. And that is where most people fall. They confuse motivation for commitment. But motivation is seasonal. Discipline is eternal. Michael Jordan didn't become a legend by waiting to feel inspired. He trained, he practiced, he obsessed. When no one was watching, he was refining the invisible skills that later made him unstoppable. That's what champions do. They live in the shadows so they can own the spotlight. So ask yourself, are you willing to train in the dark so you can shine in the light? Most people aren't. They want the result, but not the routine. They want the glory, but not the grind. They want the crown, but not the cross. But there is no crown without a cross, no summit without a climb, no transformation without a crucifixion of the old self. And that's the part people resist the most, the shedding, the letting go, the brutal honesty it takes to admit, this version of me cannot go where I'm trying to go. You cannot step into a new life with old habits. You cannot build a kingdom with peasant thoughts. You cannot become a warrior while clinging to your wounds. So what must die for your greatness to live? Your laziness, your self-pity, your need to be liked, your addiction to comfort, whatever it is, name it. Then bury it, because until you do, it will bury you. There is no progress without sacrifice. There is no greatness without discomfort. There is no breakthrough without breakdown. But most people won't endure the breakdown, so they quit. Right before the turning point, right before the shift, they run from the fire instead of realizing the fire is where gold is made. Pressure is not your enemy. It is your proving ground. The universe will test you to see, how bad do you really want it? It will place you in the storm not to destroy you, but to reveal you. And the truth is, you don't find out who you are in comfort. You find out when everything breaks, when the plan falls apart, when nothing makes sense, and you're standing in the wreckage, but you keep moving. That's who you are. Not the thoughts you think, not the words you say when it's easy, but the decisions you make when it's hard. You want to be successful. Then make peace with pain. Make peace with solitude. Make peace with being misunderstood, because the path to greatness is lonely by design. It requires separation, not because you're better, but because you're becoming. You cannot evolve while staying in the same environment, around the same people who tolerate your mediocrity. Let them call you obsessed. Let them call you arrogant. Let them call you crazy. Because the ones who are crazy enough to believe they can change the world are the ones who do. Einstein, Tesla, Muhammad Ali. They weren't seeking approval. They were creating reality. And you have the same power, the same potential, the same flame, but you must protect it. Protect it from distractions, from comfort, from laziness, from opinions that mean nothing. Guard your mind like a sacred garden, because whatever you plant there will grow. Plant out and you'll grow despair. Plant excuses and you'll harvest regret. But plant vision, plant hunger. Plant the belief that nothing is beyond you, and your life will bend to your will. This isn't motivational fluff. This is universal law. Thoughts become things. Beliefs shape biology. Conviction alters chemistry. Your body responds to what you believe you are. So what story are you telling yourself? That it's too late. That you don't have what it takes. That you're not like those people. Let me be blunt, that's a lie. A comfortable, poisonous lie that keeps you small. You are not too late. You are not too old. You are not too anything. You are ready, right now, as you are. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin, fully. No more dipping your toe. No more flirting with the idea. No more rehearsing the life you want. This is it. This is your line in the sand. Your moment to rise. Your moment to commit, not conditionally, but unconditionally. Because most people fail before they even begin, but not you. Not anymore. Not anymore. Because now you see it. The truth behind the curtain. The game behind the game. The reason the masses fall short and the few rise like giants. It's not luck. It's not talent. It's not timing. It's alignment. A brutal, relentless alignment between who you are, what you believe, and how you act. Most people live in misalignment. They say they want change, but they cling to habits that keep them stuck. They say they want success, but secretly fear what it would demand. They say they're ready, but wait for someone else to go first. But greatness doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't knock politely. It kicks the door open. It demands your full attention, your total focus, your absolute obedience to the dream. Not when it's easy, not when it's convenient. Always, this is why most people fail before they even begin. Because they want success, but they are still negotiating with their excuses. Because they want to win, but they won't let go of the identity that keeps them losing, because they want transformation, but they fear the death of the old self. But if you want to rise, you must be willing to burn. Burn the old story. Burn the comfort zone. Burn the parts of you that say, I'll do it tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is only now. This moment, right here, is all you'll ever have. And the question isn't, can you do it? The question is, will you finally stop running from it? Because make no mistake, your calling is chasing you. It's not something you find. It's something you remember. It's already inside you, buried beneath layers of fear, doubt, distraction, and false beliefs. Your mission is to dig, to cut through the noise, to silence the outside world until the voice within becomes thunder. That's when everything changes, not when you get a raise, not when someone validates you, not when the world claps, but when you decide, enough, when you take your power back, when you stop waiting, stop wishing, and start moving. Because motion is life, action is clarity, discipline is freedom, and ownership is salvation. Own your thoughts, own your results, own your destiny. Because no one is coming, not the mentor, not the investor, not the opportunity. You are the opportunity. You are the spark the world has been waiting for. You are the answer to someone's prayer. You are the builder of the vision that only you can see. But you must build it, brick by bloody brick, through resistance, through rejection, through days when your own mind becomes your enemy. Keep building. When it feels pointless, build. When the results are invisible, build. When you're tired, when you're doubting, when the world turns its back, build. Because faith is not belief without proof. Faith is belief in the absence of proof. Faith is digging when there is no gold in sight, because you know it's there. And if you don't quit, you will strike it, not just success, not just wealth, not just achievement, but transformation, the death of who you were and the birth of who you were always meant to become. So ask yourself one final question. Will I fail before I begin, like most? Or will I begin before I'm ready, fight before I'm perfect, build before I'm certain, and win because I refuse to stop? This is the line, the moment, the beginning of everything. No more waiting, no more watching, no more wasting your life on sidelines that were never meant to hold you. Step into the arena. Let the crowd doubt you. Let fear chase you. Let life punch you. And keep moving. Because this time you're not playing small. You're not looking for guarantees. You're not hoping to be chosen. This time, you choose yourself. And you finish what most people never even begin.